Aho UTAR Pirates, welcome back to Pirate News Broadcastings, your go-to channel for the latest update, both onshore and offshore. I'm Paying, your anchors for today's, and we're about to dive into an issue that is making waves in the maritime world, ocean garbage and pollution. Our ocean have become increasingly polluted by the waste dumped from the ships, affecting the marine ecosystems and even human health. In response to this, the International Conventions Organizations or IMOs introduced MARPOLs, short for International Conventions for the Prevention of Pollution from Ships. MARPOL sets the global standards for reducing the shipborne pollutions, and one of its major highlights is the garbage-free policy listed under Annex 5. This policy aims to eliminate and reduce the amount of garbage that ships discharge into the sea. To make this happen, several key elements are enforced. Ships must follow a strict prohibitions of discharge. Second, should have a garbage management plan. Third, maintain a garbage record book. And lastly, use approved port receptions facilities to safely dispose of waste onshore. So, what are the advantages of this policy? Let's break it down. First and foremost, the garbage-free policy supports the environmental protections. When the ships stop dumping waste into the ocean, we reduce the amount of plastics or other litter floating in the water. This helps marine animals like turtles, dolphins, and seabirds who often mistake floating trash for food. For example, the sea turtles have been found with plastic bags in their stomach, mistaking them for jellyfish. By reducing this pollution, we give marine life a better chance at survival. Next, the policy plays a role in supporting the climate goals. When plastic degrades in the ocean, they release greenhouse gases like methane and ethylene, both of which contribute to global warming. By managing the garbage properly and preventing it from entering the ocean in the first place, we are also slowing down the rate of climate change. Now, let's talk about the public health. The cleaner the oceans, the safer our seafood. Reducing the waste in the oceans help prevent contamination of fish stocks, which protects people from consuming toxic substances like microplastics and heavy materials. It also contributes to safer and cleaner sources of drinking waters for coastal communities. In addition, this policy promotes innovations. Countries and companies are now investing in new technologies such as chemical recycling of plastics and waste-to-go plants. For example, in Rotterdam, there is a facility that turns ship waste into usable energies. This not only reduces the waste but creates a new resources, a win-win solution. Lastly, the policy offers economic benefits. A clean ocean attracts more tourists, which is especially important for countries with beach resorts or fishing industries. Plus, it reduces the massive costs involved in the cleaning up polluted waters and the coastline. Countries can spend that money on the development rather than damage control. However, while the garbage-free policy sounds great in theory, this does come with several challenges in practice. One major challenge is high compliance costs. The ship needs to install proper waste storage, segregations, and disposal systems. This isn't cheap, especially for smaller shipping companies or older vessels. On top of that, not all ports have the necessary reception facilities to collect the waste, and when they do, the fees can be quite expensive. This creates a financial burden, especially on the long-haul shipping routes. Another issue is enforcement. Monitoring ships in international water is extremely difficult. There are no ocean police constantly patrolling, and some countries doesn't have strict enforcement system in place. This makes it easy for some ships to ignore the policy and dump waste illegally without getting caught. For example, a vessel in the middle of Atlantic Oceans might illegally discharge waste with very little risk of being detected. And then there are operational challenges for the ship's crews. On the long voyage, garbage can build up quickly and the ship have limited space to store it. The crew must also fill out detailed paperwork like the garbage record books, which aid to their workload. these additional responsibilities can become stressful, especially during the busy operations or rough sea conditions. So, while the intentions behind the policy are notable, the road to full implementation is not without obstacles. Now, to help us navigate deeper to these matters, we welcome our special guests, the Maritime Policy Officers. Officers, we love to hear your thoughts and expert opinions on the garbage-free policy. Now, let's take things a step further. We're pleased to welcome another special guest, the Sustainability Practices Officers, who here to share some suggestions and innovative practice that can help the maritime industries move toward a greener and cleaner futures. That wraps up today's editions of Pirate News Broadcastings. We hope you have learned something new about how international policy like MARPOL and sustainable maritime practice can work hand in hand to make a real difference. Until next time, I'm Ping, reminding you to keep it clean, keep it green, and keep sailing forwards. Thanks for watching.
Good day, everyone. I'm Li Yongshen. As a maritime personnel, I understand the importance of MARPOL and X5 in tackling marine pollution. However, despite its objective, the policy faced significant challenges in implementation, scope, and resource allocation. Today, I will discuss these critiques and propose actionable solutions to strengthen the initiative. Regarding critique on the policy, the first one is poor regulatory implementation and enforcement. One of the biggest hurdles is the inconsistent enforcement of MARPOL regulations across nations. Many countries, particularly developing ones, delay ratification or fail to fully integrate MARPOL standards into their domestic laws. For example, Vietnam's slow adoption contrasts sharply with the strict enforcement seen in the United States, thereby leading to a regulatory gap. Additionally, the lack of coordination among agencies such as port authorities, coast guards, and environmental bodies creates inefficiencies in monitoring and penalizing violations. Without standardized enforcement, compliance remains weak and uneven. Furthermore, another major limitation is MARPOL Annex 5 narrow scope. While it addresses visible plastic waste such as packaging and fishing gear, it largely ignores microplastics, which are tiny particles under 5 mm now pervading marine ecosystem. These microplastics, often from synthetic textile and ship paint, pose severe risks to marine life but remain unregulated. Furthermore, the policy applies only to large ships over 400 gross ton, thus exempting smaller vessels like fishing boats, which contribute significantly to marine debris, especially in regions like Australia. So moreover, there's a limited integrations with land and coastal-based waste management. MARPOL's MARPOL's emphasis on ocean-based pollution overlooks a critical fact that most marine debris originates on land. Rivers, urban runoff, industrial discharges account for nearly 80% of ocean plastics. Coastal zones and also estuaries where microplastics accumulate are particularly neglected. Without addressing land-based sources, MARPOL's impact will remain limited. Lastly, the enforcement is further hampered by insufficient infrastructure and funding. Many port lacks proper reception facilities, thus forcing ships to dump their waste improperly. Governments often fail to provide incentives such as financial support, staffing, or training to ensure compliance. Without these resources, even well-intentioned policies struggle to make a real difference. So next, to improve on the policy, I suggest strengthening regulatory implementation and enforcement. To improve compliance, the International Maritime Organization's IMO should provide technical assistance to help developing nations adopt MARPOL standards. Additionally, forming joint enforcement units, combining coast guards, port authorities, and environmental bodies can streamline monitoring and penalties, ensuring consistent implementation. Secondly, I recommend expanding MARPOL scope. The policy must evolve to address modern challenges. Amendments should include regulations on microplastics from shipping and synthetic textile. Additionally, lowering the tonnage threshold to 100 gross tons will hold smaller vessels accountable, thus closing a significant loophole. And thirdly, it is important to bridge land and coastal waste management gaps. Since land-based waste is a major contributor, MARPOL should collaborate with coastal states to intercept riverine plastics. Investments in biofiltration barriers and wastewater treatment plants nearby high-risk estuaries can also drastically reduce pollution. Lastly, necessary resources must be allocated sufficiently and timely. Ports should incentivize compliance by offering reduced fees for vessels with zero waste violations. The IMO should also expand training programs, particularly in developing nations, to build expertise in waste management and enforcement. So that's all from me. Thank you.
Good day to everyone. My name is Xiaojuan Yi and I am a maritime professional. Today, I will be sharing some insights on suggestions for sustainability under MARPOL Annex 5 and explain how each of these approaches support long-term environmental protection in the maritime sector. Let's begin with the first suggestion, improve port reception facility. To encourage ships to dispose of their waste properly, ports must have accessible and well-equipped reception systems. If facilities are limited, hard to use, or too costly, ships may resort to dumping waste at sea. By improving this facility, we make legal deposits easier and reduce the chances of pollution. This is a sustainable approach because it creates a system that supports long-term compliance and cleaner oceans. Next is the use of smart and green technology. Tools like steamer, drones, and booms can use to collect garbage floating near coast and import areas. This technology helps clean up waste before it spreads further into ocean. Focusing these efforts on high-traffic maritime zones can make a big impact. This method is sustainable because it allows efficient and targeted cleanup using modern tools, and it reduces the reliance of manual labor and large-scale effort later on. Another key suggestion is capacity building and awareness. Training programs for seafarers are very important so they know how to handle garbage correctly. When crew members understand the proper procedures and also the environmental consequences of poor waste management, they are more likely to follow the rules. Educational tools like onboard poster and manual help to reinforce this. This is a sustainable method because it builds the long-term habits and a culture of environmental responsibility in the maritime industry. Finally, we can support the sustainability by promoting the use of biodegradable and eco-friendly material on board the ships. Instead of single-use plastic, ships can switch to the biodegradable items and reusable containers. Using eco-packaging not only reduces the amount of waste, but it also lowers the risk of long-lasting pollution in the oceans. This suggestion is sustainable because it reduces the creation of harmful waste in the first place and support a shift toward greener operation at sea. Okay, so I will make a conclusion for today's season. MARPOL Annex 5 played an important role in protecting the marine environment by regulating how ships manage and dispose of garbage. It has successfully brought many benefits, including reduced marine litter, better health outcomes, and support for ocean-related industry. However, the challenges still remain. These include limited enforcement, narrow policy coverage, and weak connection with land-based waste management systems. To overcome this issue, it is important to enhance the regulation, expand the scope of policy, and invest in sustainable practices like the ones we just discussed. By doing so, we can make real progress toward keeping our ocean clean and healthy, not just today, but for generations to come. I hope everyone learned something new and found today's sharing helpful. Thank you for listening.